Hello, everyone. So I'm going to talk about how to develop an AI agent which talks to ERP and try to give answers as needed. And the business case is like this, right? So, for example, if you are a director, manager from the supply chain, operation, finance, right? And then you want to know specific insights from your ERP. One way is you can directly log into application and try to get the insights, try to get more details. That's the traditional way. But now you need to debug, you need to log in, and you need to summarize the data, analyze the data, and you have to conclude the story. The best example is, for example, what is my current on-hand value, right? So for that, you need somebody has to log into application. It can be a Oracle SaaS application, EBS application, or any other ERP. And somebody will run the report, and then you will come to the story about how much on hand, times, cost, and that's where it will tell you current your on hand value. So that's one way. That's a traditional way. But now it's a modern way. It's you just talk to a chat, talk to a agent, AI agent, and it will simply give the answer. So then you can go deep dive. For example, tell me the current on-hand value. And now the next question will be, okay, now which part has more on-hand value or which sub-inventory has more on-hand value? So you can further drill down and then you can also see that like start from the first questions high level and then you can keep drill down and try to understand the current inventory situation. That's one of the use case. On the same line, for example, on the finance side, I want to know what is my purchase price variance and what is my invoice price variance as of today. Then you can also drill down from there for which supplier I have this problem or for which buyer we have this kind of problem. So we can drill down, debug, and kind of try to understand more in detail about the situation, right? So that's the another use case. Again, all those problems could be solved if you log into ERP and run some report, do some analysis, and conclude the story. But now, as I mentioned, the modern approach is chat to the AI agent, and then AI agent will answer, provide you the graphics, provide the drill down on whatever you need. So that's the modern way. So what I'm going to do here is I'm trying to address that case by kind of developing some of the by developing that one agent, and I'm going to talk about how we can achieve this use case. So for that, um, we need to have a lot of technical components. So this will be a two technical sessions, but at the end game is I want to know status or some information from ERP application. It could be any ERP application without logging to the ERP application. And I want to summarize it, keep it contextual, and ask the follow-up questions and so on. So again, so that is my use case, that is my business case, and to solve that, I am going to develop an agent, and how to do that and all. That's what we are going to talk. So let's deep dive into it now. So now we have to develop this chatbot. So chatbot, what we need. So typically any kind of chatbot, if you want to develop, you need uh, LLM. That's a large language model. So that's the kind of heart of the system. And that large language model, LLM, talks to, sorry, receive the input from the user. So in this case, it could be the end user, and then they will uh, they will kind of explain the problem or ask the questions in the natural language, and then LLM try to understand that context, that question, and then it is trying to understand what need to be done. So that's the purpose of LLM. So that's the input to LLM. Output of LLM will be so now it depends on the type of technology, type of platforms that you use. So typically LLM is going to then, for example, understand the questions and come up with, for example, some SQL script. And then assume that the ERP application has some kind of SQL database. It can be Oracle or some other. And now that SQL script will be ran on database. So this then that database is going to spit out some output, right? It could be one line, two line, or it can be a one column or 10 column, right? So it is just going to spit out the output that, and if you pass that output back to the user, they don't understand. So again, we need to have another translation. So kind of look at that whole output of this script, analyze it, and kind of summarize in natural way so that user can understand. So that will be the kind of end result. That will be output, right? So again, so this is the high level picture. So what we need, right? So we need, of course, one ERP application database. So I'm going to, for this demonstration purpose, I'm going to use Oracle ATP database, and then we will use OpenAI API to use the um, recent API 4.0 from ChatGPT. Then we'll have some kind of addition. Then we should have kind of framework where we kind of deploy all those LLM, take the user input, and kind of do some massaging to the user input, massaging to the output that we need to pass it to user. So we need a one platform. That platform, what I'm going to use is N at N. It's a kind of framework where you can build a workflow, and it requires less coding, or rather pretty close to no coding. And you drag and drop and connect the dots, and then you have that workflow. But in order to kind of give access to N at N is a cloud-based version. So in order to give that access to this N at N to this Oracle ATP database, which is another cloud database, we need to do a lot of infrastructure work behind the scene, right? So what we need? So to summarize, we need Oracle ATP database. It could be your on-premise database too. But for this demonstration, I'm just using Oracle ATP database, and then we need an N8N application. So instead of using a cloud version, I have installed N8N on directly on host machine. Here, host machine is a virtual machine. And so now we got a virtual machine in the picture. So now for virtual machine, in order to connect that virtual machine to the database and to the N8N, then we need a virtual network too. So we have a virtual network comes in picture. And to install N8N, I have used a Docker. It's more like a containerized operating ecosystem. It is easy to manage and easy to kind of talk to each other. So not just that, if, for example, our virtual machine operating system, Linux or Unix, if it get updated, then it will not impact to N8N. So we kind of containerize N8N within the by using a Docker application. And and then we will build a workflow on N8N. So just to summarize, we have Oracle ATP database. You don't need that ATP database if you are directly giving access to the actual your ERP database. So for demonstration, I'm using that as the input. So we have Oracle ATP database on cloud. We have a virtual machine from Oracle on cloud. And we have virtual network, which I built on the cloud itself on the OCI platform. And then I have a deployed Docker in that virtual machine. So I have created one container within that virtual machine. And then within that container, I have an application running. And then after that, I build one tunnel so that I can directly access from my laptop, from the client machine instead of host machine. Uh, so so I have tunnel, and that's pretty much. And then once the N8N application is up and running, then I will start interacting, and it will answer the questions. So there are a lot of technical stuff, a lot of API connections, and a tunnel and virtual network that we need to build. I will try to give information as much as I can here. So it's start. Discussed earlier, we'll start with our Oracle database. So these database is not needed if you are directly going to connect to your actual ERP database but for this demonstration purpose, I have created a database. I have loaded some data and then rest of other thing. So my prerequisite to start this agent is having some kind of ERP system, having some backend tables that this bot can interact. So in order to do that, I have used Oracle OCI database, which is 19C80B database. And so you have to create an account for that, and you can use your personal email ID too. And once you create that, then you have to provide your credit card details. And once you enable the credit card, and then there is a checkbox which says that keep free or always free. So with that, it will not charge to your credit card. But again, intention to provide a credit card is if you don't check that checkbox, and if you keep your database running for example, for a year, then they will charge money to your credit card. But again, as I mentioned, I selected always free option, so they will not charge to my credit card, and it is a 16 days of free database, and it has very basic configurations. Um, so it is 19C database. It is has 11 GB space, and I think yeah. And once this database, so important thing is yeah, it has the two EPUs, eCPUs, and so if you want to connect to the database, there are some actions you can stop, start, and clone and all those things. But typically, I've used in stop and start, and then there is a if you want to connect to this database, you can download a wallet. Wallet is a way to connect to this cloud database. And so it has some TNS details, and again, you need a user ID and password with that. So created database, downloaded this wallet to connect to this database, right? And once you create a database, it will ask you what's your admin user. So you create admin user and set your password. And then on top of that, you can create additional users, or you can use admin to run this chatbot. So here is the important link. So this is the link which you can use and access your SQL developer online. And once you have access to this SQL developer, then you can insert the data and sample data so that chatbot can access it. So that's exactly what I did. And let's go to now uh, this database. So this is my database connected through admin. I have some sample few tables, and you can see it. So so again, in actual ERP environment, you have tons of tons of data. But for this demonstration purpose, I just use 3, 4 tables, and I'm just playing with that. So here is the parent table, which talks about what are the work orders that are exist right now in system, what are the operations to those work order, and then another kind of grandchild table which talks about the resources. So this is a parent, child, and this is a grandchild. So there are 3 tables against which I have data. Of course, I have data into this big transaction too, but I'm not going to use it. So three or 2 tables are good enough to prove that this chatbot can interact. So tables are created, data is loaded, and then now pretty much database work is done. So first prerequisite of having a chatbot is complete. The next prerequisite is now we need to have N8 N8N. And as I explained earlier, so N8N is kind of operating or running within a Docker, and the Docker is sitting on the virtual machine. And so in order to start n8n, we have to start with the virtual machine. So the next step is creating a virtual machine. Um, so this is my virtual machine, virtual network. Oops. Uh, so here is my virtual machine. So this virtual machine is does have the operating system Linux and or Ubuntu. That's what they call. And it has very basic configuration. And so this is everything is open source free. Again, this virtual machine is also I have created on OCI platform. And the next step is once you have this virtual machine with this uh, Ubuntu operating system, next one is creating virtual network. So now that virtual machine is going to talk to this database through this virtual network. So this virtual network, again, I will not go in detail, but I have enabled some ports, created some list of the gateways, um, route tables, and some subnet rules and all that I have created. So this virtual network, its purpose is just to kind of pass through any incoming, outgoing connections from this virtual network to this database and so on. So this virtual network plus a virtual machine that I have created. Now the next step is once you have this virtual machine, virtual network ready, then you can go to your local uh, terminal. If you have Mac operating system, if you have the Mac laptop, or if you have a Windows laptop, then go to the command prompt shell scripts and try to access these virtual machines and install Docker. And on top of that Docker, you have to install n8n. Again, n8n, there is a cloud version, which I'm not using it. I have installed directly um, n8n directly on virtual machine. Why I did that? Initially, I started with the cloud version, but there was kind of there was a lot of lateness that I have seen between the connections. So when I ask something, it kind of spins forever. So I have decided that let's have n8n. Let me host the n8n directly into this virtual machine. So it will be very close to the database and it will be easy communicating to the database. Alternative option is, of course, you can go for cloud and you can have a dedicated network and improve your improve your connection. But for me, I have just installed on virtual machine. So that's my n8n from host. So let's go to n8n. So this is my n8n application, which is running on the host, not on the cloud. So once virtual network is ready, once the Docker is installed, once n8n is installed, then you have to build a tunnel so that only you can access that n8n. Nobody can. Again, just this is for privacy and security purpose. But there are various ways, and probably network admin can give you more advice on that. But right now, I have just used tunnel, and now through the tunnel, I'm accessing it, and so I have built this workflow. So let's deep dive into n8n after this. So before you start n8n, there are tons of other activity you need to do. So that includes you need to install Insta client on your virtual machine on your Docker so that it will talk to database. Then you should move your wallet to the virtual machine and build a connections from there. So there are some tons of prerequisites that have separate document which talks about that. But let's assume that the Insta client, virtual network, and then tunnel, then Docker, all those uh, Docker files are kind of adjusted and ready to use it. Then you start your N8N application. Once you open your N8N application, the first time it is going to ask you to create a kind of admin user or owner for this N8N application. And this application, so you will create that your more like administrator account, and then you can start creating your workflows, right? So even before you go to the workflow, there are a couple of things you need to take care. One is this N8N application doesn't have direct way to connect to the database. So there is a what that means is this N8N has a tons of different functions and nodes which you can use it and uh, kind of build your end-to-end workflow. But to connect the database, at least to Oracle database, what I've used is one community node, which is free, which I have installed from directly on Docker. So this is N8N node uh, Oracle DB. So with this node, you can connect to the database. There are other nodes are available that I have not explored, but this is the node what I have used, and based on that, I have built this workflow. So that's another prerequisite. So it's not something you can just use it whatever you have. You have to install additional one. You might face a lot of difficulties to install this one too. The best option what I felt like installing directly from Linux instead of installing from front end. Of course, you can use the front end, but it takes some time, and it was hanging the session for me. So this is done. So that's another prerequisite. And then there are a couple of other prerequisites. The next one is so if you go to plus here, you have to give a couple of credentials. One is a ChatGPT API. So here is my ChatGPT API, which I have connected to this N8N application. So again, this is you need to go to the ChatGPT, create your API key. In order to create API key, you have to load some balance to your account. Here I have used a personal account, and I think I have loaded a $10 balance to my account. You don't need a $10 for this POC, but I just kept it as a $10. And once you load that $10 balance, then and then it will kind of your API key become more active. It allows you to create API key, but it is useless because it says that you don't have balance. So yes, so API key, in order to get API key, you have to pay X dollar. And that's how then you can come here and build a kind of add that API key and um, um, try test your connection. The next one is uh, this database connection. So here is my TNS name. So I'm using this TNS name. So there are 3, 4 different TNS strings, connection strings. Out of that, I'm just using this one of a connection string. I think they have 4: high, medium, low. I just thought to use medium, and then here is my admin user and corresponding password. And so you mentioned that, and now how this connection work is when there is some activities getting performed on the specific node where this connection is used, then it is going to see where this N8N is installed. In our case, it is installed on Docker, and then it is going to open this Docker YML file. And in the Docker YML file, you have to mention that TNS home. So then you can mention the TNS home as your TNS wallet, and within the TNS wallet, we have all those the connection string and host and um, port number and all those details are sitting there. So that's how it connects. From front end, you mention the connection string. Then in the back end, it goes to your Docker. From the Docker, it find out a property called TNS admin. Against that property, against that property, you will have a path for for your SQL.ora and TNS name.ora file details. and from the directory it is kind of going to access, and from there it is going to connect to the database. So it's a long short connection chain, but that's how it works. So I did those two connections. So this is one of the connection string, which I'm not using it, but it is, I was just testing it with that. So once those prerequisites are done, then let's talk about the workflow. So this is my workflow with OpenAI. So first one is this is my so this is a chat trigger. So this is the first node. So all those blocks are called nodes. So this is my first node. In the first node, it is I'm saying that so this workflow should be executed whenever I send a chat. So that's the starting point. That's what it means. It doesn't have any more parameters to configure, but this is my starting point. And so let's go through this, and this will be easy, and then I can explain why this link is there. So once you get this one, then it goes to OpenAPI. So this is another node. If you want to add a node, you can go plus here, or if you can see here plus, if you add it, then you can add it from here too. So yes, so then you add Open API node. In Open API node, so here is my connections for ChatGPT. So this is my connection, which we discussed earlier, and it has that ChatGPT API key. I'm using GPT-4 model, and this is my prompt. So there are two prompts: system prompt and user prompt. So what is those prompts? So those prompts. So this is the sorry. So this is the actual prompt. So I'm passing this prompt to this LLM, saying that you are one of the expert SQL assistants. Here are the tables: primary key, foreign key, some of the column names. What's the responsibility? What's the responsibility of this? What I'm expecting out of this? I'm expecting only SQLs. Don't do the unnecessary joins, right? Don't use this kind of statement select star from, then you will have tons of columns. And so all those things, then the work order number, VP entity ID, all those are same. And like I have mentioned some information, then there is a status type, right? In this table, there is a status type, and what is the status type definition? So I gave those, and then I gave some of the sample questions and queries, and I just mentioned some boundaries. So what are those boundaries? Don't show everything, and unnecessary don't join the tables, and so on. So this is kind of this is the system prompt, which work as a more like a context to this LLM. So I have loaded this one, and do's and don'ts in short. So you are just mentioning the guardrail in short for this LLM. So this is my system prompt. Then this is so now if you look at it, so this is a JSON. So this is the expression. What it's saying that so whatever. So this is user prompt. So whatever you are getting input from the previous node. So the previous node data is coming under the chat. Um, this chat input. That's my node. And against that, use that as a user prompt. So I'm sending the two inputs to this LLM. One is system prompt, user prompt, and there are some kind of settings what I have enabled. Um, Again, you can refine it. You don't need to add those settings, but I feel like with this setting, I'm getting a good result. So I have just kind of optimized it. So this is my settings. So number of tokens, randomness, and temperature. So those are the parameters to LLM for this chat GPT-4. And so this is my LLM. And so this is my input. Then what is the output, right? So output from here, as I mentioned, that I gave a context. So idea here is for every question, there is no need to write a SQL script. We will give we are giving a guardrail, do's and don'ts, expectations, and then some of the sample questions and corresponding answers. So with that, LLM should be self-intelligent to come up with its own SQL script. So now that SQL script will be provided to this function. So this is a function node, and as well as this is a kind of set node. Why I'm using a set node? Just to make sure that this Open API, so OpenAI LLM model does provide the right SQL script. So this is for testing purpose. You don't need this. I just want to make sure. So I just want to see what is the raw output that I'm getting out of this node. And in order to see that, I just use this as set function, set node. But again, so I'm using the another one is this is function node, what I'm using it. And then this function node intention was if there is a sometimes chat GPT gives some odd responses, right? If you want to filter that out, right? For example, is um, uh, it always provides a semicolon, right? And I'm expecting I don't want a semicolon. So you can use this kind of function where you can, by using the JSON, you can trim the some of those odd output from LLM. So that's the purpose of it, but I have not used a lot. But again, it is pretty much passing whatever is the output. So ChatGPT is going to give me a SQL script based on this context, and that SQL script will be used to this Oracle SQL node. If you remember our earlier discussion, I have suggested to install one specific custom node. And once you install the custom node, then you can see this node here. It's in the backend, it's called and in the backend, it's called this N8N node Oracle DB, but on the front end, it's called Oracle SQL. So both are same. So we got this node. Uh, and now what we are doing is we are using that connection, whatever the connection we have stored, and we are just passing that SQL script. That's pretty much what we are doing. Now, as I discussed earlier, how that works is it takes the script and this connection details. In the connection details, you have those TNS name. And now with that TNS name, it looks for where is the TNS admin, what is the value for this TNS admin environment variable on the Docker. And then find out that environment variable value, open that folder, find out SQL.ora, TNS.ora, by using that it connects to database. Though it look like very simple from front end, but this is the most difficult task just to connect to the database, what I've observed. Once you have that, then another thing is now you got output from this from the SQL from this Oracle script, from SQL script, right? Again, if you want to refine it, you can do that. So I did that too. So the best example is, for example, in some time you get when you run the script, right? So if you ask me, if you ask the database, so select star from dual, it will just give you one column, one row, right? But if you ask select star from MTL system items B or select star from all tables, then you'll get pretty much 100 plus rows, 100 plus column. So in that time, during that time, right, if you pass the same output to the user will not able to understand. So you need to kind of um, you need to take that table output from Oracle database and then kind of uh, add pipes for each row and add a kind of do the proper formatting. So here I'm adding a pipes and so that you can pass it in a pretty nicer way to the next ChatGPT node. So that now that next ChatGPT node can summarize it. So it's more like a pre-formatting of output of this previous node. So it is doing a formatting and all. Now here there is a node. It's called merge. Okay. So what merge is doing? Merge is merging the two things. One is what is the question what user has asked, and what is the output you got it from Oracle SQL. So like a question and answer, pretty much you are passing. So this is you are just merging those two. Once you merge those two, then whatever is a merged JSON string, you are passing it to another Open API LLM. And this LLM, here I'm using a GPT 3.5 Turbo. Why? Because I think you have a lot of attempt. You can give the lot. You can do the lot of it at chat prompt with this 3.5 turbo than 4 because 4 is bit advanced. So I'm not doing a lot of fancy work here. It's just pretty much summarizing what is the question, what is the answer. And I'm using a lower version, lower model. So that's the intention. Otherwise, you can go for 4.0. So here again, this is the system prompt saying that you are assisting, summarizing, and you are giving the rightful answers. And here is that combine question answer input that has passed as a user input to this API. Sorry, ChatGPT. So now this ChatGPT is going to spit out the output. And that's the end of the overall this workflow. To summarize, we start with the chat. So this is the question comes from the end user. For example, material director asks, what is the status of this work order? Right. So once they ask, that question will be passed to the this chat GPT. And now the purpose of this chat GPT to simply write a SQL script. Nothing beyond that. Don't respond. Don't entertain any other questions. Simply write a SQL script. Use the SQL script, do the formatting, pass it to the Oracle database. From the Oracle database, take the output, format it as, and then merge it with the questions. So you will get a question answer. Pass those question answers to the Chat GPT, and now the Chat GPT is kind of by using those question context, it is going to respond in a natural way. So that's the overall flow, right? So let's ask some of the questions. So I'm asking, so if you want to taste this flow, you will get an option here at the bottom. So of course you can host directly on one website, but I thought directly taste into this editor mode. So I'm going to ask, tell me, or very short, status of work order number, this one. So what is happening? It is going to this chat GPT. It is going to write a script. So yep, it is done. So it has ran here, and if you look at it here is you can debug. So my question was status of this work order, then what it has done. So this is my second node. It has wrote. So this is my input. If you look at, so here is the input, here is the output. Input is so this is my variable. Against this variable, this output came, and that's how you can see here. This is the chat input. That's why we mentioned the chat input. So the chat input, if we got as this one, and pretty much it wrote a one SQL script. And if I use this SQL script, copy. If I write this SQL script on database, it will tell you what is the organization and what is the status. So this is how we wrote the script. Now back to the init, and so this is the script. Got it from second node. This is a third node. Third node, it is doing formatting, and right now there is no. I have not wrote any code to do any formatting, but it is pretty much passing whatever is the input. We got it from OpenAI ChatGPT to this next node, which is SQL. So this is the input we got it. This is the output. It's the same what we have seen. Then this is my next code. This is the formatting, as I mentioned, right? It is adding a pipe and passing this information in meaningful way to the ChatGPT. And now, so here merger, you can see that there are multiple inputs, though that's why it is not showing. Let me see now. It's not showing, but there are two inputs it has got. And so this is the output. which is has passed from this merge node, and then this is passed. This is open API. So input has got this kind of piped data, and here is the output. The work order is in organization has status of released. So that's how chatbot works. Another thing is tell me resources, and again, this is the next question. So I'm asking, tell me the resources. So again, it has gone all those nodes, all are successful. And if I look at it, the answer is it is telling work order has the two resources within it. So this is the next line /n. First one is the resource called dwell. It has a rate of 48 units from this date. And this is the second resource. So it is kind of pretty much uh, uh, explaining you in the um, kind of natural language. It is explaining the user in a natural language rather than just giving. So this is our output from SQL. Rather than explaining in this way, it is pretty nicely explaining in a user-friendly format. So this is how you can build your chatbot. So you have database. You don't need application tier to run the chatbot. This chatbot can directly connect to the database, get the data, analyze it. It understand the context of the previous question. It understand if you get any odd output, right? For example, unnecessarily it is showing me bunch of IDs, right? For example, then you can have a you can mention in this system prompt here saying that don't show me any column start which has um, suffix as ID, so then it will not show. Something like that, you can refine it as we go, and it kind of build your all those dynamic script as needed. So with that, it concludes our demonstration. Thank you.